Rolling on now with Connor Pay, and you guys turn your attention now to the Wyoming Cowboys. Connor, your dad played against Wyoming back in the day. You've talked about how Mike Empey is practically an uncle to you at this point in your life, and I'm sure there's a bevy of other former BYU players that you know well. What have they told you about going up to Laramie, Wyoming, and playing in War Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's all kinds of crazy stories, but they really hate BYU, and they anytime they get the chance to have BYU come to Laramie, they get up for it.
Yeah,
and it's as a player, having heard the stories, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited to go experience it because honestly, in a lot of ways, hostile environments are a lot of fun to play in.
mm-hmm.
And so, I'm hoping that coming out of the tunnel, I don't get peed on, like has happened in the past, or have alcoholic beverages dumped on me, but who knows? Who knows? Crazy things happen in Laramie. And, what else do they have to do out there besides get excited for their football team? You have to live in a crappy place like that. At least they got one thing, and that's Wyoming football. So props to them for being passionate.
Okay, one of the few times that Lavelle Edwards ever kind of like strayed from being the Lavelle that we all know and love was a comment he made about Laramie. He said, "I'd rather lose and live in Provo than win and live in Laramie, Wyoming." And
I think I've seen that.
It's existed for decades now, and I know that Pokes fans, it drives them nuts. My dad was there one time, Connor, when the urination off of the railing onto BYU football players took place. As I understand it, they've since revamped where the opposing team comes out of the locker room, so that's kind of hard to do now. So
okay,
be a little safer on that side of it. But this is also a crowd that I've let's just put it this way: I've heard grandmas chanting "F-U BYU," and it's not the letter F. Let's just
of course.
So,
all right.
It should be a fun one. Now, with regards to the second straight road trip here, you guys get the win in Dallas. You come back home. You got to make another trip. It's not as far. You got to go over to Laramie, so it's not as far of a flight. But what's the biggest challenge with back-to-back road games?
I think honestly, it's probably just the travel aspect.
Okay.
I think, and I mean, this one really isn't that bad because we played on a Friday last week. So we had an extra day of recovery and an extra day of preparation. And so, I think last week was a little different because we were going on the road and we were playing on a Friday. And so everything was accelerated and we had to travel. So obviously we don't have to do that this week. So, and with Wyoming being so close, I don't, I think the most difficult part about it is just not being at Les, it's just because it's just different, obviously, home games are just super fun. And so I think that's the most challenging part about it is just not being with our fans at home, and I mean, SMU almost felt like a home game. We had just as many fans there as they did. And so we'll see. I feel like over the years, I'm sure Wyoming has put in some type of system or safeguard to keep that from happening, because BYU fans travel so well. So we'll see how many end up there. But, I think those are probably just the more challenging aspects, I think, of going on the road and back-to-back weeks. But yeah, thankfully it's not a super long distance. And so it would be different if like we were going to the East Coast twice and switching time zones because that messes up your sleep and all this other stuff. So, but no, I think this one's not too bad. So
now, the thing about it is, as I understand it, War Memorial Stadium up there, when it's filled, and this might be a little outdated, at one point, Connor, when they filled that stadium up, it was the fourth largest city in the state of Wyoming. So do with that what you will.
That's awesome.
It shows you just kind of how
there's like a small part of you that just has to respect it.
Yeah, you do. And here's
like, what? Like they show up for their team.
They do. Well, okay. The last time they beat BYU, I don't know if you know this, they tore the goalpost down and paraded them down Main Street in Laramie. And that was a game, and I think it was 03 or 04 between two losing teams, Connor. Neither team was going bowling at that point, but they paraded the goalpost down Main Street. So
yeah, so they're in it.
They are, and they have a healthy disrespect and hate for BYU. It's a sports hate, might be visceral. at the same time. Now, Kalani Satake and Aaron Roderick both have lifted the lid on this, saying that both LJ Martin and Hinckley Ropati are considered doubtful for this week. So your top two running backs unavailable in this game. Yeah. What do you guys do as an offensive line to bail out guys like Miles Davis, Enoch Nawahine, Pokai Haunga, the other guys who are now going to have to step up into that role?
I think, obviously nothing's going to change, schematically or things like that because they know how to run our offense. Mm-hmm. Enoch popped in and had a huge fourth down touchdown run. They know how to run our offense. I think for us, Miles is a vet. Miles isn't going to have any issues. He's been here before. If I remember correctly, he played really well last time we played Wyoming.
Career high yards.
Yeah. And probably would have had another touchdown if I didn't get a holding call. Which we watched it again today, thankfully. Coach Woods decided to bring that one up again. But I don't think he knew I held, though. So, but I told him when he brought that clip up, he was like, "This is a great touchdown run." I was like, "Didn't count." But
about that, Coach.
But yeah, after watching it again 2 years later, still not a hold.
Okay.
Still to this day, not a hold. But anyways, and so I think, but for younger guys like Enoch, I think it's just we as an O-line got to be on our P's and Q's to, set up our combo blocks really nice, make his reads clear, not have any technique issues that muddy his reads. And so I think that's where, we can make the biggest difference is just come off the ball, knock them back, give him space to make his decisions and just make it the easiest we can on him, and so because if we're off or the timing's not right or our combos aren't clean, it really makes the reads that the running back has to go through really muddy on what hole they should hit. And so I think that'll be a big thing we can do to help Enoch out this week.
Now, Wyoming is known as a pretty hard-nosed defense. That's kind of what they've built their reputation on under their coaching staff. I know that they have a new head coach this year, Jay Sawvell, but he's been there for quite a while, obviously working with that staff and Craig Bull. What do you see on tape? What do you expect from them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd see on tape exactly what I saw when we played them a couple years ago. They're obviously they're not the most skilled team we're going to play this year, right? But what they do is they know their defense and they play hard. They're hard-nosed dudes, blue-collar dudes, and they hang their hat on that. They hang their hat on effort and physicality is going to make up for what we lack, and so when I see them on defense, I see guys like they don't do a ton of crazy stuff, not a lot of twisting, stemming, not even a lot of blitzing. Mm-hmm. They kind of line up and play and say, "Hey, here we are. We're going to hit you in the mouth, and see how you handle it, and see if we can if you can handle it." And so, I think that's why they've been successful on defense, in the past is, it's they overcome those things with just physicality and effort, right? And they play hard. They play really hard, and they try to hit you, and they get caught at times, kind of, like we saw in the ASU game, being outclassed a little bit in some areas. But, I think, I watched that ASU game to the very end, and they were getting killed, and the effort didn't change, which I have a lot of respect for, and so I think we got to come out and be ready for them to be physical, and we got to be physical or more physical back, and try to get the ball moving against these guys, and so I think I'm looking forward to the challenge.
All right, last thing on Wyoming for me, and you don't have to answer a long, elaborate answer. You taking your cowboy hat or boots to Laramie with you?
No, I don't have either of those things.
Okay.
I'm not gonna disgrace cowboy culture by trying to claim that I am one. Okay. And so I think everyone has a country phase in their life where it's like, man, I would love to just own a ranch and do that, and then 6 months later you snap out of it. But yeah, no, I'm not going to claim that. I'll leave that to the real Cowboys. I'm not going to disrespect them like that.
All right. Sounds good.